What makes you think I can do it in an afternoon?
Because you're not trying to be right. You're trying to understand it.
The station hummed like a held breath. Kael Ross pressed his palm against the observation window, watching the dying star pulse a slow, sickly orange outside. Rendaris 6 had once been a garden world, according to the archive files he'd read on the 3-week transit out here. Now it was ash, and the star that fed it was collapsing inward, year by year, like a wound that refused to close. He'd come as part of the first-ever human exchange initiative, one of only 4 teenagers selected from Earth to study alongside the Thren, an alien species whose science had outpaced humanity by thousands of years. He hadn't expected to end up standing in front of the most important machine in the galaxy. "You're staring again," said a voice behind him. Chief Scientist Inara Vosh stood in the doorway, her pale silver eyes catching the dim light. She was tall, elegant, ancient in the way only her species could be. The Thren lived centuries, and Inara had spent 4 of them studying the same broken machine. "I keep thinking there's something obvious everyone's missing," Kael said. "Everyone has thought that for 5,000 years.
He turned.
Then why did you bring a 16-year-old exchange student into your most classified lab?" Inara's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes did. Because obvious things are the ones minds like ours stop seeing. Not everyone agreed with her decision. As they walked, they passed Director Kolm Thassa, an older Thren official whose markings had faded to a dull gray with age. He stopped them in the corridor, his tone clipped. "Chief Vosh, I still object to a child having clearance to the engine chamber. If word reaches the council, then let it reach the council," Inara said evenly. 5,000 years of your approved methods have given us nothing but failure, Director." Thassa's jaw tightened, but he said nothing further, only watched Kael with narrowed eyes as they passed. She led him deeper into the station, past humming corridors and silent Thren researchers who didn't look up. At the heart of the facility sat the Continuum engine, a structure of black crystal veined with faint blue light, ancient beyond even the Thren's memory. It was the only known device capable of stabilizing a dying star. It had sat inert for 5 millennia. Every civilization that touched it walked away defeated. "We've run every equation," Inara said. "Every simulation. The machine responds to nothing. No power source works. No command sequence activates it." Kael circled the crystal slowly. "What does it actually do when it's working?" "No one alive has seen it work." "Then how do you know it works at all?" For the first time, Inara hesitated. The historical texts, they describe it responding to intention, not instruction. Kael frowned. "Intention like feelings?" "We dismissed that translation centuries ago. Machines do not respond to emotion. They respond to logic." But Kael was already thinking about something else, the way Inara's voice had changed the moment she said the word feelings. Like it embarrassed her. That night, Kael couldn't sleep. He pulled up the station's archive on his tablet, scrolling through failed attempt after failed attempt. Brilliant minds. Elegant equations. Entire careers spent and lost on this one crystal. All of them approaching the engine like a lock to be picked, never once questioning whether it was a lock at all. Then he found something buried in an appendix, a line of ancient Thren poetry, dismissed by researchers as decorative, filed away centuries ago as a translation error. Roughly rendered, the engine does not wake for those who demand. It wakes for those who grieve alongside it.
Grieve.
Not demand. Kael sat up straight, his heart pounding. What if the machine wasn't a mechanism at all? What if it was a mirror? He barely slept the rest of the night, turning the idea over and over, half convinced he was chasing nothing, half convinced he'd finally seen what 5,000 years of scientists had missed. The next morning, He found Inara already in the chamber, exhausted, dark circles under her silver eyes. Director Thassa stood nearby, arms folded, clearly waiting for the human's theory to fail, so he could have Kael's clearance revoked. "I think I know why it never worked," Kael said. Inara looked up, wary. "Go on. You've been trying to command it. Every scientist for 5,000 years has approached this thing like a problem to solve. But it's not a problem. It's a wound. Just like the star outside." Thassa scoffed. "That's poetry, not science." "Maybe it's both." Kael stepped closer to the crystal, ignoring the director entirely. "You said it responds to intention. What if intention isn't a command? What if it's honesty? What if this thing has been sitting here for 5,000 years waiting for someone to actually feel something real in front of it, instead of trying to win an argument with it?" Inara's composure cracked, just slightly. "Our people don't display grief."
Not like that.
"It's considered weakness." She said nothing, which was answer enough. "Then it's no wonder it never woke up," Kael said quietly. "You've been asking it to solve an equation when it's been waiting for someone to be honest with it." Thassa opened his mouth to object again, but Inara raised a hand, silencing him. Kael turned to the engine. He thought about his mother, gone 3 years now. He thought about how he'd never once let himself really feel it, because feeling it made it real, because grief on Earth was something you were expected to survive quietly and move past. He let the grief surface, not performed, not spoken aloud, just real, sitting in his chest like a stone he'd been carrying without ever setting down. The crystal flickered. Inara's breath caught. That's never happened. Not once. Not in 5,000 years. Thassa took a step back, his skepticism draining from his face. The blue veins of light inside the engine pulsed brighter, faster, spreading outward like a heartbeat waking up after a long, long sleep. "It's not a machine that needs data," Kael whispered. "It's a machine that needs truth." Inara stepped beside him, and for the first time in 4 centuries of studying the engine, she let her own composure fall away completely. She thought of her mentor, dead 100 years, who had spent his whole life on this exact device and never once been allowed to grieve its failure, who had died believing himself a disappointment to his people. She let herself feel that loss, fully, without apology, without the careful Thren restraint drilled into her since childhood. The chamber erupted in light. Every crystal vein blazed alive at once. The engine rose from its dormant housing, rotating slowly, radiating a warmth that hadn't existed in this room in 5 millennia. Outside the station, the dying star shuddered and steadied. Its collapsing core began, impossibly, to stabilize, the sickly orange light outside the windows shifting, degree by degree, towards something warmer. Alarms turned to cheers throughout the station. Thren scientists poured into the chamber, stunned, some weeping openly for the first time in their careful, guarded lives. Even Director Thassa stood frozen, staring at the light with an expression Kael had never seen on a Thren face before. Inara turned to Kael, eyes bright. 5,000 years, she said quietly, and it took someone young enough to still believe grief was allowed. Kael smiled, tired but glowing. "Maybe that's the part your people forgot how to do." Weeks later, as Kael prepared to return home, Inara walked him to the departure bay. The star outside glowed steady gold now, reborn, its light falling warm across the station for the first time in longer than anyone could remember. "You'll be remembered here," she said, "not as the human who solved our equation, as the one who taught us how to feel again." Kael looked back at the station, at the world it had saved, at Director Thassa standing quietly by the window, no longer skeptical, only grateful. "Maybe the smartest thing isn't always the answer," he said. "Sometimes it's just being honest enough to ask the real question." The shuttle doors closed behind him, carrying him home under a star that, for the first time in 5,000 years, had stopped dying.